To continue Women's History Month, fasten your seatbelts and place your tray tables up because I'm talking about women in aviation. Most of us know the name Amelia Earhart, the first female pilot to fly solo over the Atlantic Ocean, who was determined to be the first woman to fly around the world. But there have been so many contributions to the aviation industry made by other women, I wish I could tell you about all of them right now, but here are some highlights. Did you know Wilbur and Orville Wright had a sister named Catherine Wright? Wilbur actually said, if the world thinks of us in connection with aviation, it must remember our sister. But sadly, it didn't. Catherine graduated from Oberlin College in 1898 and maintained the finances while her brothers traveled the globe searching for partners and funding. Catherine also traveled to France to attend flying demonstrations with her brothers, learning French along the way. Unlike her shy brothers, Catherine's charm and outgoing personality made her a hit with the French newspapers. Catherine won the hearts of the people there and met politicians and kings and secured the support they needed. She even flew with Wilbur in some demonstrations to show that even young ladies could travel through the air just as easily as in motor cars. Catherine continued to play a major role in the success of the Wright Company. Emma Lillian Todd was an inventor and the first woman to design an airplane. Determined to improve on the Wright brothers' airplane design, she worked through much trial and error and eventually designed an aircraft that was successfully flown by a male test pilot. As a woman, she was denied a pilot's license and couldn't fly the plane herself. But Emma Lillian Todd founded the first Junior Aero Club in 1908 to help educate future aviators. In 1920, neither women nor African Americans were allowed to attend pilot school in the U.S. Undeterred, Bessie Coleman, who was a woman of African American and Native American descent, worked 2 jobs to save money, moved to France where she could be allowed to fly. Bessie took classes from ace pilots and earned her pilot's license in June of 1921. Returning to the U.S., Bessie went on to become a famous airshow stunt pilot. She saw her work in aviation as a way to further the civil rights movement, saying, "The air is the only place free from prejudices." In 1927, America was in an airplane craze. Phoebe Fairgrave only bought an airplane with an inheritance from her grandfather. And she started doing stunts like walking on the wings and doing the Charleston and even parachute tricks to perform in movies, eventually becoming the first woman to own a flying circus, the Phoebe Fairgrave Flying Circus. Phoebe had a lot of firsts in aviation for women. She was the first woman to receive an aircraft mechanic's license, and she was also the first licensed female transport pilot. President Roosevelt even appointed her as special advisor for air intelligence to the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, making her the first woman appointed to a federal aviation position. Phoebe established 66 flight schools in 46 states to meet the growing demands for pilots during World War II. Making use of female flight instructors, she famously said, "If women can teach men to walk, they can teach them to fly." The 588th Night Bomber Regiment was an all-female Soviet Air Force regiment formed by young women volunteers in 1941. During World War II, these pilots, flying in old plywood crop duster biplanes, took part in 24,000 night missions, dropping 23,000 tons of explosives, dodging and outmaneuvering the Germans, earning them the name Night Witches by the Nazi officers. These women were highly decorated. Each surviving pilot had flown over 800 missions by the end of the war. Geraldine "Jerry" Mock became the first woman to fly around the world in 1964 in a single-engine Cessna 180 named the Spirit of Columbus. Her husband reportedly said, "Maybe you should just get in your plane and fly around the world." "All right," she said, "I will." The trip took 29 days and covered almost 23,000 miles. And when she was asked why take such a treacherous journey alone, she said, "It's about time a woman did it." In 1973, Frontier Airlines made Emily Howell Warner the first female U.S. commercial airline pilot, making way for over 300 other women to take similar roles within the rest of that decade. Emily was the first woman to become a member of the Airline Pilots Association and became the first female to achieve rank of captain for a U.S. airline in 1976. Eileen Collins decided she wanted to be an astronaut in 4th grade. Working toward that dream, she joined the U.S. Air Force and in 1976 became their first female flight instructor. In 1990, Eileen was chosen to be an astronaut. and by 1995, she was the first female space shuttle pilot. In 1999, she became the first woman to command a U.S. space shuttle. Following the Columbia Space Shuttle explosion during re-entry in 2003, the space program took a little time to learn new emergency protocols and train astronauts how to fix structural problems in flight. In 2005, NASA's return to flight mission, Eileen was once again commander, this time of the Space Shuttle Discovery. Accomplishing another milestone, she became the first astronaut to complete a tricky 360-degree pitch maneuver so that the underside of the shuttle could be examined from the space station for structural damage. Collins retired as a NASA astronaut and a U.S. Air Force colonel, having received several medals for her service to aviation and aerospace. So here's to all those women throughout history whose passion was flying high in the sky and reaching for the stars.